Hey guys, welcome to Limited Sand YouTube channel. This channel is going to be dedicated towards everything special operations, the discussion, of special operations from a non-special operations perspective. Now, what I mean by a non-special operations perspective is that never served in unit, but I am a historian. I love the study of it, the history of it, right? So when we think of, people commentating on spec ops, right? You think of the veteran, right? The Green Beret, the former Green Beret or the former Navy SEAL talking about it and we just listen, right? So I am here and this is probably the first time this has been done. I don't know if anybody else is really doing it to this, hopefully to this extent where you're making stories and you're talking about special operations to a fine detail. And that's what this channel is going to be dedicated towards. It's talking about, special operations, different units, different eras, different, genres, basically, if you want to talk about countries and stuff like that. So we're going to talk about everything special operations from a non-special operations, perspective, point of view. So it's going to be fun. Basically I'm here to bridge that gap between veterans, basically, who served in these units and like me, who never served in these units, right? Because many times when they speak, sometimes, unless you've done your research, most people don't really know. And I've talked to a lot of people who are just regular civilians, and I only served for about 8 years in the Army. The 321st Engineer Battalion, down at Gowan Field, food service. Had a lot of fun doing it. 8 years. Some of the funnest times of my life. Let's see here. I remember, I think probably the highlight of my career was going down to Fort Lee and serving and being able to serve on the culinary arts team. Right. So a lot of fun getting a chance to do that. So a lot of fun, right? I got a chance to take a picture with General Bingham, who was, pretty much ahead of that whole operation that was going on down there as far as, I don't know if it was fully as far as the base. I'll post a picture for you guys, so you guys can see it. Me and my battle buddy. But we had a lot of fun. Culinary arts competition, getting a chance to compete against other units out there, So I did have, that cool stuff for about 8 years. Had a lot of fun doing it. But never served in any kind of special operations capacity. So don't get that twisted. But a lot of civilians, when I talk to the average civilian about, anything military just to begin with, most people actually really don't care, right? And now I think people are caring a little bit more, just because of all the exposure that, special operators and their dogs and stuff are getting, like the al-Baghdadi raid and stuff like that. Oh, really, really cool. So people getting a little bit of exposure. But back in the day, there wasn't much said or talked about, when it came to the military and then also just special operations in general. It was kind of something that people just really did not talk about. Now with social media and, and all this, people talking more, it's shedding a whole new light on special operations. So it's good to hear from the veteran side, and on their thoughts on what they did. But it's also good to hear from the civilian side and someone like me who's studied it extensively. I've studied it extensively, can, shed some more light on things that they either may not be. I wouldn't say anything like OPSEC, nothing crazy like that. This is all stuff that's public domain. Everybody knows about, different stories. Books have been written. Kill Bin Laden, Delta Force by Eric Haney. Charlie Beckwith read his own book. No Easy Day. What is it? I know, Robert O'Neill's coming out with his own. So everyone's coming out with their own stuff. So all the information I'm giving to you guys, I'm going to be giving to you guys, is all public knowledge. It's all on social media or it's been written about. So not going to be anything on this channel that's like, oh, so I found out their latest, technology they're using for their helicopters. Like, no, nothing like that. And I probably wouldn't have that information anyways to begin with. So nothing going to be nothing crazy like that, but it's going to be kind of, this channel is going to be dedicated towards anything special operations. And with the stories that I've been writing, is to kind of shed some light on, how they may conduct some of their operations. And many of my stories are based off of, like, you'll see footage, right, on YouTube, or you'll see, read stories, right? I read a lot of stories, listen to a lot of audiobooks, on SEAL Team 6, Delta Force. And some of my stories are, that I've written, like Vehicle Interdiction, is, my imagination, and then adding it from the operator's perspective on how he, gets the mission, the target set, whatever, and then they go out and conduct these missions and stuff like that. So this is nothing classified at all. Like, oh man, how's he getting these stories? No, this is just my pure imagination, just me having fun and letting my imagination run wild. If you guys want to see my imagination run wild, go buy yourself a copy of Soul Warrior Series Rookie, which is my debut novel. It came out in January this year. It's a 2003 Delta Force fiction, historical fiction novel. And it's about Saddam Hussein basically getting captured, but it's from a fantasy perspective of, instead of him just being captured in a tunnel, right? Just they pull him out of a bunker. Now that's pretty much most what the public knows. Of course, there's a couple books that's come out since then, but I use my imagination to say, oh wait, what if there was like an underground tunnel system leading to this farm, right? And there's all over Iraq, and my main character is trying to hunt this guy down in these tunnels, and the Russians are involved, and they're trying to get oil, and it's just a total big fuck up, right? So that's what that book is about. So definitely make sure you guys go buy yourself a copy of that. The book's not perfect, but I did the best I could. I pulled it out of, like, basically not off the shelf, but I written it, and then I edited it, and then basically said, all right, I've had this for years, just send it in. So the book was fairly well written. I did a lot of editing, still some stuff. Some of the final edits didn't make it to the book. So some things definitely did not get changed in there. I'll tell you, here's a big correction that I wish would have gotten, put in there in time, which will haunt me for the rest of my life since the book is already out there. But you guys can know where my heart's at. My heart's in the right place when it comes to talking about, the cool guy stuff, right? That serve in these units with the guns and stuff like that. But one of the biggest regrets I have in writing the book is that, some of the time periods are a little off, when it comes to my main character serving in certain units before he served in Delta Force, which was in 2003, right? He served in, he made it through selection in 2001 or 2, whatever one it was. I had it where he had deployed a couple times over to Iraq or something crazy like that. But no one was really in Iraq in 2001. That was more or less Afghanistan. So I kind of screwed it up, and that did not make it to the final cut. So that kind of, I'll always forever haunt me, but at least I know where I made that mistake, and I've tried to, rectify that. But, so basically, like I said, this channel is going to be discussions, right? You guys can post questions, have discussions, interact with each other, interact with me. I'll answer every question you guys put out there. And we could talk about, from a civilian's perspective, because most of us have never, will never, or maybe used to a long time ago or whatever. We can kind of, enlighten each other and talk about this kind of stuff, right? Because this stuff is very important to talk about. Not in as far as OPSEC and violating any laws, nothing like that, but it has to do with, patriotism, right? You want to be patriotic towards our country, because the civilian population doesn't know anything about this, spec ops world, right? Or about what's going on in that world. So people are like, oh, that's a good thing, right? We shouldn't want to know what's going on. Oh, I think we should know what's going on, right? You pay tax dollars, right? You pay your taxes, right? And some of that money is going towards DOD. Our taxes are going towards the government. So they're going to use your money however they see fit. So it's nice to know where your money is being invested, and it's being invested wisely. And of course it's being invested wisely when it comes to the military, right? Now people have their different thoughts on how long we should be in different countries and you know, and how we should treat people and this and that, whatever. And there's a lot of things that are going on in the news. I know they're trying to get the Green Berets to change their motto, which is free the oppressed, because of the people over in, you know, in those countries that practice boy sodomy and stuff like that. And they're complaining and they're trying to get us to change. So there's a lot of things that are going on over there in the world. And the average citizen in this country doesn't care and doesn't really know. And some people, it's not that people, all people don't care, is they're ignorant of what's going on in the world. They're more focused on, you know, oh man, you know, beauty, hair products, TV, cable. But you have to know that there's people over in other countries, like our men and women over there, who are serving and protecting and trying to free the oppressed that are over there, that are being killed off, you know. There's a story about a little boy who got raped by this Afghan man, right? You know, the boy love thing where they were just being this completely, it's really sad and it's very disgusting, right? And a Green Beret, 2 Green Berets or 1 or 2 of them beat the crap out of the guy who did it. He's like an Afghan commander or something like that, ANA guy, whatever. And that's Afghan National Army commander, I think. And that Army guy, the Green Beret, ended up getting kicked out or something. It's just very sad. But he was trying to live, you know, freeing the oppressed, right? He knew, and I don't know how, you know, as far as morals, I mean, it's hard to stand by and watch someone do that to a small child, right? Very, very hard for us in America. Over there, that's what they practice, but they end up beating up the mom and taking the boy. So those Green Berets were trying to liberate that child. And it's just very controversial. I believe the Green Beret did the right thing. I'm just going to say that. So shout out to them. So we'll be talking about history, news, anything you guys want to talk about. Interact, talk, have dialogue, discussions, talk about, you know, what it is, you know, and what's going on around the world, right? This stuff is very, very important. And do we need to talk about everything? No, we don't have to talk about everything. But we can, you know, we can learn, right? Cause there's a lot of people who sit around and talk a lot of shit, you know, about, oh, you know, and I'm probably guilty of it, but I at least know what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of people out there that are, you know, comparing units and stuff like that. We're going to get into that as well, too. People who compare units and stuff like that in other videos. So we're going to get into that kind of stuff. But a lot of people just sit there and talk and talk and talk and have no clue of what they're talking about at all. They're just saying things just to say, well, you know, Delta Force is better than the Green Berets, you know. There's no way you could be, you know, and people say things, whatever, that are wrong and that aren't even close to being right because they're, once again, 2 different tools for 2 different jobs, right? They're not the same thing, right? Green Berets are going to be the guys that go in and embed with the indigenous, right? Unconventional warfare, foreign internal defense, all that kind of stuff, right? They deal with the people training and getting people, you know, the help they need, right? They're freeing the oppressed in these countries. They're going to raise up these people and they're going to fight against those oppressive governments, overthrow those governments. That's their mission, right? If you want a good hostage rescue team or, you know, counterterrorism, you know, some of those surgical operations, you're going to get your Delta Force, right? And there's 2 different capabilities, right? So your Green Berets will be your unique. That's a unique capability. Now in the GWAT, now these days, everything's kind of more blended in as the war was kicking up and going on. You know, everybody was having to do each other's missions because you can't have, you know, you can't have one unit just dedicated towards one thing and another unit. Everybody was blending in, helping each other out, right? And that's why you needed, you know, MARSOC was created, you know, for that purpose. You know, SOCOM was like, Marine Corps, you guys have got to get your act together. We need you guys. So we're going to talk a lot more about that kind of stuff. And I think they were formed in around like 2006 or so, around that period, you know, as Det 1. And, they eventually formed MARSOC. But all the units out there were having to do different jobs, unconventional warfare, SEAL teams, you know, foreign internal defense, SEAL teams, Rangers. Everybody was hand in the bag, right? So we're going to talk about tier one. We're going to talk about budgets. Once again, none of this is classified. None of this is stuff that, oh my God, if you talk about this, you're going to get people killed. No, this is stuff that is knowledge, public knowledge, right? Everyone, this is stuff that people talk about. And I'm going to direct you guys. And if I don't know the answer to something, and even if I do know the answer to something, I'm going to direct you guys to other channels. So I'm going to leave, you guys have to watch the description box as much as possible, because I'm going to be giving you guys links to, other websites, which are normal websites, right? Other YouTube channels that, give you guys information, better information than I can give you on special operations and different units and stuff like that. Life is a special operation. I'm going to be pointing you guys in that direction a lot. Zach Hughes channel, I'm going to be doing that channel a lot. And there's other channels out there, Team House with Jack Murphy and another guy who's also a former Ranger. I'm going to be directing you guys towards a lot of different channels to give you guys information. So once again, I'm going to be posting more stories, right? Cool action live stories, writings that I've done and stuff like that. And we're going to be doing cool things like that. So definitely make sure you guys stay tuned for that. That's not going away. This is just, a video, and I'm going to obviously be doing more of these videos where I'm going to be talking to you guys directly. And maybe we might even do some live streams too as well. And talking, open freely and actually having a live discussion on, guns, shooting, books to read, information to get. And I'll direct you, like I said, I'll direct you guys to those channels where you guys can get information for those of you guys who are interested in joining Special Forces, right? I'd send you guys straight to Zach Hughes' channel. And I think his channel is called Zach Hughes, right? And he give you guys the pedigree and the secret sauce on how to make it in Special Forces, and the training regimens and all that kind of cool stuff. From the MARSOC side, there's other guys, that do it, and I get my information. I get information just like you guys. When people post videos, I follow them, I watch them religiously. Audiobooks, reading. I have tons and tons of books at home on special operations. It's just my niche, right? Like, I'm not an expert, but I do like studying it. It's like Stephen A. Smith or Max Kellerman. Are they professional athletes? No, they commentate on it, and they're really good at what they do. And that's kind of what I want to do for you guys. Is I want to give you guys the best information, the best knowledge, and point you guys in the right direction in so that we can all kind of learn from each other, right? I can learn different things, on different units, right? I've learned so much from, the difference between a TAC P, right? And a JFO. Like, there's so many different units and players out there in the world of special operations, and even on the conventional side. So we're going to be doing a lot of that more. So I know this video is a lot longer. But I just want to introduce myself, Limited Sand. My name is Chris, Limited Sand being my channel, talking about the history of special operations. So definitely make sure you guys stay tuned for more stuff. I'm going to be posting a lot more, community stuff, hopefully, and stuff like that. And keep you guys abreast of what's going on currently out there in the world. So that's all I got for you guys today. Once again, hit that like, subscribe button, share it with friends and family who may be interested from a civilian standpoint. We get the veteran standpoint. We always do, but from a civilian standpoint and people who actually there's more of us as civilians than there are of veterans, right? So we get to hear from their side, but it's also cool, to hear from people who are also interested in the same thing, never served in it, but interested in the same thing, that everybody, that a lot of other people are interested in. And we can just have discussions and dialogues and talk about it. So, that's all I got for you guys today. Once again, hit the like, subscribe button, continue to keep checking out my content, and I'll talk to you guys later. Love you guys. Peace.